However, there is a new show on Netflix, I think, that just came out that is about, or maybe it's Hulu. It's called like The Devil Inside Me or something like that. And it's about different people, individuals who've committed murder and said that they were possessed by the devil when they did that. A lot of people are really freaked out by it. I'm a little skeptical. Just
It sounds like a convenient alibi, in my
because,
opinion.
Right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
Say
you
and then
know,
and
there's a
then I get
lot of
possessed by the
factors.
devil. You're
Yeah,
like, what happened, Andrew? You're
yeah.
possessed. Want to listen to this Ivory Tower Boiler Room or True Crime and Academia episode ad-free? Head on over to our Patreon and join either the ITBR student or the ITBR professor level. Both levels of membership have a 7-day free trial. With the ITBR professor level, you also not only get access to all of our video episodes, like listening or watching Scream Part 2, you also get access to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room and True Crime and Academia book clubs. The book clubs are going to each be a 1-hour private Zoom. I'm hosting the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Mary DePippi's hosting the True Crime and Academia ones. So with the ITBR professor level, you get access to all of our video and audio episodes, plus our book clubs. And make sure you download the Patreon app on your phone for such an accessible, easy to use way to consume our content. Okay, can't wait to see you all on Patreon.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and before you hear such an exciting episode, I want to remind you all that when I'm not here hosting the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, I am running my small business, the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, where I am consulting with clients. It includes academic writing consulting, social media, podcast, and expanding your media footprint. So I have clients I'm working on graduate school writing with them. I can work on thesis writing, dissertation writing, essay advice, college admission essays, undergrad, college advice, graduate school advice. I also am working on a client's small business right now and expanding her social media footprint. I can work on how to create a podcast with you or how to expand your podcast audience. I also can just help you expand your media footprint in general. So, if you're interested in my consulting, I first want to let you all know it is only $30 for the first hour that I work with you on consulting, and then I'll set up a package with you then. So you can email me at ivorytowerboilerroom@gmail.com, or you could go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And there's a consulting option under memberships. You can pay the $30 and then I will reach out to you right away and we'll set up a consultation. And then while you're on our Patreon, make sure you join the Ivory Tower Boiler Room and the True Crime and Academia Book Club. Every month, both myself and Mary are choosing books for our book club members to read. And we are actually polling our members on Patreon to see what books they want to read. And we're meeting with them the first week of each month. So if you want to join the book club each month, just make sure that you join on Patreon. That way I know who's joined and I can reach out to all of you and let you know when we're meeting on Zoom. Okay, so lots of things to do here in the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and I can't wait to consult with you, join you for a book club discussion, and have you here listening to one of our podcast episodes. Okay, enjoy this episode. Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby. Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room for a very special, really special, because if you are on our YouTube right now, we do have a YouTube, everyone, that I put out all of our episodes and you can see our lovely faces. I am actually in a store called the Soapbox in Port Jefferson Village, my home away from home. It's now my hometown, basically. I've been here for almost 9 years. So that's a long, part of your life.
Yes.
Yeah. So settled, exactly. And it's such a beautiful village, and I love being here in the fall. The leaves are changing, and I can't wait to see the canopy of all the crisp, like ember color leaves soon. So I'm joined here with my good friend Jenine, who is actually, what's your title at the Soapbox, Jenine?
Well, part owner.
Okay.
I work here with my mom. It's our shop. And actually, this Halloween on Halloween itself will be 16 years that we're here. So thank you so much. Yes.
Congratulations. Well,
Thank
behind
you.
us are
Thank you.
also all of these essential
Yes,
oils
there's the
and
perfume oils. This is our blending bar. This is so much fun. When you have time, you should really take a trip down to our shop. We could make you a custom fragrance. We could make, you can kind of make out on the blackboards over there, but we could make body products, anything from showered, and Andrew loves our body products.
I do.
We've made a lot for him, but you can make anything from bubble baths, shower gels, foaming hand soaps. It's wonderful. Everything's all personalized, in addition to the wonderful products that we have in our store. But this is a lot of fun, so we thought it would be fun today to film in front of our apothecary jars.
Yeah, very
Your feel for Halloween.
spooky
Yeah.
and witchy, and I have my Hocus Pocus shirt on. Shout out to our Patreon members too, who always watch our video episodes. We see you. I always say to Mary, we have our favorites, even though I love you all listening, but if you're paying for our caffeine addiction, you kind of have a special place in our heart. Or my Bath and Body and bubble bath addiction. So
Andrew's here often.
I'm here a lot, yes. And we are joined, of course, with our nun right now. She is outlined with the nun demonic possession image from the Conjuring universe, but she has the habit on. Oh yeah, now it's very scary. We can see the nun. Oh yeah, Mary, go back. You're scaring us. So Mary DePippi from True Crime and Academia. Hi, Mary. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening, good morning. Whenever you're watching this, good afternoon. So you might want to keep the lights on for this episode because we're really going to delve into demonic possession. And I actually saw these two films with Jenine. So this is my AMC theater film buddy.
Yes.
Mary, did you see The Nun 2 and The Exorcist Believer by yourself or with, your boyfriend, friends? Who are you enjoying?
My boyfriend. I cannot do those by certain ones. I cannot do by myself. These were ones I was like, I need someone with me. So
now the second question, did you drag him with you or did he go willingly? Because so happy I had found a great friend in Andrew, but a fellow horror buddy, because most of my friends do not enjoy horror movies and I have to drag them. So does he enjoy horror movies as well?
He does. So I got lucky. I mentioned it once, and then next thing I knew, we were going to see both of them. So
good.
Fun.
Good. So my first question for us, and I really want my mom to see the new Exorcist. But my dad, she's like, your dad is going to cover his eyes the whole time. He won't even see it with me. And she's like, but I would love to see it on Halloween. But she said, instead, I think we're going to see the one that you really want to see, Jenine, which is The Flowers.
Oh, that was with Leonardo.
Yes,
DiCaprio.
with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's about a Native American community meets like the white settlers, and there's going to be all 20s, this,
I believe,
friction. I know, we'll find it.
I know, we'll find it.
But
I want to see that.
My first question with the Conjuring universe is, when did you both know about the Conjuring? Do you remember, did you see the first movie?
Yes.
Okay. So you saw the first Conjuring. Did you see it, Mary?
A while after it came out. So it took me a minute. I wasn't always into horror. I was actually a very scared person, but it wasn't until I kind of started diving more into it and kind of figuring out Like, for example, like my boyfriend was one of the people who actually helped me get over like my fears of scary movies because he was like, jump scares are cheap scares.
Mhm.
And those were always the big ones for me that would get me and always made me feel like I just couldn't watch them. And so, like, after
Interesting.
hearing that, I was kind of like, oh, so that's the cheap. So you mean if I can just get past that and pay attention to like actually really pay attention to the story and not just like be anxiety ridden of, oh my God, when's the thing gonna jump out? When's it gonna jump out? You know, I could actually like really
When's the
enjoy
skull
the
gonna
story.
come and get you? Sorry, I had to. There's a prop next to me of a skull, so I just scared Mary. But
We're doing scenes of Macbeth after this.
yeah, we have other props we might throw at you, Mary. But that's our goal is to jump scare Mary now. But so that's so interesting because it's called for everyone out there, Killers of the Flower Moon
Mm.
is
It looks amazing.
the Leonardo DiCaprio film.
I think when does it come out? On the 20th, I think.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thanksgiving. Okay.
I think on
Wait a little
purpose
longer.
because of like the Native American
Okay,
you know, heritage and celebrating their culture.
Fun.
But yeah, as you were saying, Mary, so like what's so interesting is would you say that The Nun 2 and The Exorcist had that type of jump scare quality, or how would you even describe the genre of these films?
I mean, there are definitely some jump scares. And, you know, obviously, like, I do feel like that is necessary, you know, that adds to the suspense and the whole, you know, psychological aspect of horror films. So, you know, I always expect them to be there somewhere. Um, but I do think that they were kind of necessary in some ways.
Yeah. So were
For
you
this
afraid
one,
of
but
slasher films, or were you more nervous about psychological horror when you were growing up? Like, were you more
more
scared about Scream, like what we just covered for everyone to listen to on the podcast? Or were you more scared with like the Sixth Sense and how that entered into your psyche?
actually neither. It for me it was like the undead thing that you can't like how do you kill something that can't be killed? You know, for me, the unkillable was always what scared me the most. Um but aside from that, like possession films for the longest time really did like my physical soul, I felt like would be irked after watching a few. Um, but I think a lot of that has to do with like my Catholic upbringing and already like just the fear initially of like always being ingrained of like, you know, demonic possession or, you know, giving in to the devil, selling your soul to the devil or whatever. So I think in those ways it bothered me, but then I kind of, as I shifted my views on religion and the beliefs that I held true about religion, it started to like, it just doesn't really bother me
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, this is a good transition into the Catholicism or Christianity in The Nun. So, okay, everyone out there, there is an article called The Conjuring Movies in Chronological Order because I said to Jenine and Mary in our talking points that I am hella confused about the chronology of The Conjuring. Like, I have no idea what's happening in the universe. It reminds me of Star Wars. Like, I just lost. First of all, I'm not a Star Wars fan.
Nor am I.
Yeah, and it's not, you know, Star Trek. No, I'm just kidding. That was an easy joke. But okay, so The Nun from 2018 apparently is the first in the timeline. So
Okay.
it says prequel Fright Fest. The Nun takes place in 1952 Romania, where there's a Roman Catholic priest and a nun uncovering an unholy secret involving Bonnie Aaron's evil nun from The Conjuring 2. But this is where we get is it Tessa Farmiga, or how do you pronounce the actress's name?
Farmiga, I think, is how you spell the last name, and I do think
Farmiga.
it is Tessa. Yes,
Okay.
the younger
From
of
American
the
Horror
Farmigas.
Story Coven
Yes,
fame,
Mhm.
which
And the
is
first season, actually, she played the teenager in Murder House, Evan Peters, you know, girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
So then technically, so then The Nun 2 would be the second in the Conjuring universe? Or
You would
no?
think, except no.
I thought that started in 1950.
Well, so
But-
then Annabelle Creation from 2017 takes place after The Nun in 1955, California. So we go from 1952, 1955.
Okay.
And so Annabelle,
I've heard about that.
the story of a doll maker who opens his home to 6
Yes.
orphans and a nun, only to have an ancient evil released in his own house.
I forgot about that.
Then we end up in The Nun 2, sorry, currently in theaters.
Yes.
And it takes place after the events of The Nun. It's the third movie in the timeline. The events of The Nun 2 are 1956, 4 years after Sister Irene's first encounter with Valak, and 1 year after the events of Annabelle creation. But we get nothing about Annabelle in The Nun 2, just to not confuse the audience. If you're not already like, what the hell is happening? So it's like 1952, 1955, 1956. And actually, I wanted to start with this. I thought, like, this is going to be one of my pet peeves of The Nun 2.
I had a couple.
Yeah, I have a few, but I also have a few high points too. It's not, I will say right away, even though these are hot takes, like I absolutely enjoyed my experience seeing The Nun 2. Unlike A Haunting in Venice, which I will not ever watch again in full, because like I would see The Nun 2 again.
Right.
Which is important to say. So like I'm being very nuanced about my critique, which is everyone's like, what is your critique, Andrew? No. So I felt like you really didn't know what the time period was. Like I thought it was like 1930s, or it could have been the 1940s.
It had that feel to it.
And maybe because it was in Europe, it wasn't a specific
It was kind of like
dress. Yeah, there wasn't any specific downtown that I could associate with. It was just any place in Europe in the 40s and 50s or 60s.
Right.
I feel like they were also poor areas too. So trying to distinguish like time period would even be more difficult if they're in a more lower class, which I'm kind of just because like the convent in the first one is like in some like remote area that no one really goes to except that one guy. And,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I thought that the opening scene, because I feel like our opening scenes in horror movies, we talked about this, Mary, with Scream, iconic. What's your favorite scary movie? I think one of the best openings ever of a horror movie is so important. Like every opening in a movie is important, but in horror, I think if you don't sell the audience at the beginning, like that to me was what A Haunting in Venice just didn't do well. Is the opening is, I don't even remember it, and that's not good. Like Hocus Pocus, we all remember them being driven out and then hung by the town, and like Zachary Banks and his sister. Like it's just. And it's not a horror movie, but it is the gothic feel.
Right.
And I thought The Nun 2 did an excellent job in its opening. Like I will say,
it hooked you right away.
In the church, the young altar boy, like what is the spirit that like kicks that ball? And that to me is the horror I like, when it enters your veins, and it has nothing to do with gore. It has to do with, like you said, Mary, what's behind you? What's lurking within the shadows and you can't see it? So
it's the unknown. It's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah. So like, what did you all think of the opening of The Nun 2?
Oh, it definitely scared you. But that's what I mean. Like it hooked you right away. And to me, it's the fear of the unknown. You don't know what's in the dark. And I think that's what gets you when you go home at night. You go to your house and it's dark and you open the door and it's a familiar place, just like the boy. So he was where he goes all the time. He went to go get the wine without giving anything away, but he goes, he climbs up on that little box and he goes to get his wine. He kicks the ball, something kicks it back, but what's behind there? And it's someplace that he is, where he is all the time, but what's lurking? And it could be the same thing for yourself. So I think that's what makes it scary, because then you relate it to yourself.
Yeah. And what happens to the priest, I thought was very horrifying. Right, Mary? What did you think of this? I mean, with your Catholic presence and your knowledge going to Catholic school, like, did it work in that, like, the devil already present in this horror realm?
It's interesting because a lot of Catholics associate, like, the church and God's house and, priests, nuns, these holy people, to be protected in some way, or that they are like, the church specifically like is a safe place that you should be protected from evil. And I think in theory, a lot of Catholics assume that the devil can't penetrate the church. And I think what this opening did was put that idea on its head, because in actuality, what I feel like people also forget a part of like Catholic religion is that God created Satan. God created Lucifer as an angel who then, quote unquote, fell from grace.
Mhm.
If that's what you think.
Right.
Some people say, you know, you think, oh, because of that, he can't enter, all of this must be horrific for him. But then it's like, no, he was still the devil, the entity itself is still a creation of God. So therefore, why wouldn't it be able to enter into a
penetrate,
church?
say, the holy water or the wafer or the circle of, I mean, in Hocus Pocus, Saw is like used as a protection, and right in vampire lore we have all these protective elements. Like you can't come in unless you say, like,
Unless
ask
you're
for
invited.
permission and you're invited in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I agree with you, Mary. And the nun, like, think of a figure who's supposed to be celibate. She is a woman of domesticity.
Mhm.
She is obedient.
Mhm.
She's like everything. She's veiled, hidden in her body. And again, this is supposed to be a spiritual person, but this woman has,
antithesis of that.
yeah, she has been tainted and is a horror show and a fright for everyone who encounters her. So I will say, again, critique I had is I love the beginning, but then I turned to Jenine, Mary, and said, oh, the boy. The boy is now the adult man in this.
We both thought that.
I thought we had jumped in time, because it really was it just
it out.
was it just me, or did it make it seem as if we had jumped into a did a flash forward moment, and now the boy, that it was planted in our minds that he now is an adult? Like, what happened to his trauma? I was very confused.
Right, because we're brought back to, I forget his name in the movie.
It's okay, I'll find it.
He was in the first Nun and plays, the guy that I had mentioned, who's the only one who went
the caretaker, the main man in the movie. In the first one, I think his name was Frenchie or something like that.
Yeah, right, something like that.
Right. In Romania, or wherever it took place.
Oh, Maurice, who is French.
Yeah,
I was
anyone who's like,
there was something.
Anyone who's French out there, they'll be like, Frenchie, what is Jenine talking? Like, why is she putting us down? No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. No.
That's what they call him.
It's not like you said, "Hey, garçon," which means a waiter, and it's
no. I did French for 8 years.
Yeah, it's a rude thing to say in Paris, but
that's what they called him in the first.
No, you're right. Yeah. So I thought, because I didn't see the first movie, I thought the little boy was Maurice.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is why.
But either way, they paint it that way, because, like I said, I saw it and I was just like, oh, did was this something that happened to him as a child, or like, like I thought the same thing. So, and I saw it.
Yeah. So
it was a little confusing at times, I thought.
Yeah, I mean,
the storyline,
but it's an all girls, right? Okay, so is it supposed to be an all girls
like a
boarding school in the countryside of France?
Right. That's what I
countryside of France. Okay, but our nun, Sister Irene, Tessa Framiga, she is in a convent in like the outskirts of Romania, or no, in Hungary, right? Again, like, that's where I felt the geography confused me. It didn't help me.
Right.
Like, I felt like they were trying to do a lot of this distancing between the omen, like the devil. They were trying to really mystify the spirit of the demon by putting everyone in these geographically distant areas. But I actually thought it was a hot mess, in my opinion. Like, I would have rather the convent be in France, a la like Madeline. Remember that series, Madeline? Like, do something more like that.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of closer in proximity.
Well, I think when the priest sent what was her name, the nun that came to save everybody? Sister Irene. Remember when the father said to her, the demon is traveling from Romania. He's traveling west or whatever it was, to show that I guess that the evil was sweeping across Europe. I guess that's why, but I kind of tend to agree with you that it was confusing.
Well, it's almost like the witch trials. I mean,
Mm,
I think people always talk about Salem, but actually Salem was America the least impact with the hysteria
Mhm.
of the witch trials. It was actually France um
Britain, I
and
think
Eastern
too.
Europe.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was more of like where we're getting the Nun too. That was actually where more of the hysteria
Right.
came from. So maybe they were trying to mirror, like you said,
Maybe.
possession is overtaking Europe, just like the
Mhm.
witch trial hysteria.
Could be.
There you go. Okay, well, I guess this is why I like talking about it because it
Talking
makes
about,
me
yeah, makes you think.
see the
Mhm.
analysis in a different
Yeah.
way. I am here with the co-owner of one of my favorite stores here in Port Jefferson Village, New York. It is called the Soapbox. So Jenine said, Andrew, I have these 4 products you need to get your hands on. It's called 4 for Fall. So she's going to go over these 4 products. I know first you have a soap for me. What is the
I
soap?
do. I have the soap for you. It is called Apple Cider Shea Butter Soap. It's by a company called Greenwich Bay. And this is a great soap because you can use it for your hands or your body. And it has a delicious apple cider scent. And I think you're actually already familiar with it.
Yes, it is
Tried
in
it.
my shower. I still have it. It lasts a very long
Yeah,
time.
great lather.
The lather's wonderful.
Mhm.
It's just so luxurious, and I love the scent into November.
Yes,
You know, this
it
apple
carries.
cider just it evokes so many cozy feelings.
Oh,
After the soap, we have something that you can add on to
yes.
in the shower. So what is this?
This is a wonderful, wonderful exfoliating shower scrub. It is by a company called Primal Almonds, and it's a sugar whip shower scrub. And the scent is pumpkin spice. It's a moisturizing sugar scrub. So it's tiny little sugar granules. And it's something that you would use after you shower twice a week because you don't want to strip your skin of your natural oils and your moisture, but it's wonderful. It just really exfoliates all that dead skin and leaves your skin very smooth and soft from all the sugar.
So after I use the exfoliant, right now we need to moisturize. So
Yes,
I know you have a really nice fall body lotion for us.
absolutely. This is just such a delicious scent. This is one of my favorites for fall. The scent is Orchard Breeze, and it's by a company called Michelle Design Works. This is another product that you can use hand and body. It's great. You can place it on your vanity, just a couple of pumps for your hands, or use it on your entire body. But it's shea butter based, so it's extremely moisturizing. It's just wonderful, and the scent is just lovely.
We need something more deep for our face. Everyone
Yes.
wants face masks, and I know that you absolutely love this company and this brand.
This is one of my favorite masks by one of my favorite companies that we carry and we support. The company is called Farmhouse Fresh, and they're right out of Texas. The mask is called Splendid Dirt, and it's a nutrient-rich mud mask. It consists of pumpkin puree, and the benefits of this mask, it's a pore minimizer, a radiance booster, and a skin degunker. So it's an all-around great mask. If you really want a boost of radiance, it brightens your skin and it really cleanses your pores.
If they live on Long Island or near Long Island, what is your address for them to come into the store?
We're located at 18 Chandler Square in Port Jefferson, New York, right in the village. And if you can't make it, you have to come in because we just have so much fun stuff in here, so many wonderful products. But if you can't make it in, please give us a call. We're more than happy to ship any of these wonderful products to you. Call us at 631-509-1424. You could always reach us on Instagram at the Soapbox NY, or you could always check us out on our website, Soapbox NY. And
Yeah, there's
I
so
think
many
that's
ways to
about it. Yeah,
access your
so many
products.
ways to reach us.
And Janine is more than happy, and Mariana, the
Yes,
other co-owner,
my mom, actually.
yes,
Yes, my
are
mother.
so willing to take your orders
Yes.
via phone, via Instagram, and I can't wait for everyone else to enjoy these luxurious products. Imagine that you're riding the Turner Classic Movie Great Movie Ride in Hollywood studios. It's in the 1990s. As you're journeying through the Great Movie Ride, you pass the Wizard of Oz, where all of a sudden you see the Wicked Witch of the West ascend into Munchkinland in a cloud of smoke and flames. Well, that's the memory I have with the great movie ride in classic cinema when I was at Disney in the 1990s as a young boy. And ever since that, I was hooked on classic cinema. Well, my friend Christian Garcia, friend of the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, has a podcast that you all are going to love. It's called That Old Gay Classic Cinema, and he looks at queer themes in classic cinema like Vertigo, The Wizard of Oz, Sleeping Beauty, Mary Poppins, 101 Dalmatians, Hello Dolly. The list can go on and on and on. So follow him on Instagram at That Old Gay Classic Cinema. You can listen to his podcast on Apple and Spotify. And he also is on the premiere episode of our Queer as Folk podcast, where I'm rewatching every episode of Queer as Folk from 2000. And the episodes come out bi-weekly. So make sure you listen to his episode with me. And he's launching a rewatch show of Smash, where they're putting on a Marilyn Monroe musical. So he's going to be joined by co-hosts, a lot who are in the Broadway and theater industry, and I'm going to be on his first episode. So without further ado, get listening to That Old Gay Classic Cinema. Enjoy. So what do you think of Tessa Farmiga? Like, what do you think of her character or her acting? You know, how does she do?
Oh, I love her. I think even though she is at heart, I don't want to say meek, but she is definitely more mild, even tempered when not thrown into demonic situations. But I also think like that aspect of her, it's just misleading, and I feel like that also misleads the demon in the end in some ways.
That's a good call.
Yeah, but I like that about her just because, you know, here she is like this mild tempered person, but yet she's like slaying demons left and right, you know?
Yeah, I thought her acting was the best, in my opinion.
Oh, I think so too.
I will
I
say,
do think she's a good actress. I mean, just even in her other roles, but I think she brought that out into this role.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure that Deborah, who plays, so now we're in the boarding school, but, oh, no. Sorry, Deborah is the other nun, who's played by Storm Reed. I really like her. I know she's like an up and coming.
Yeah, I like her too, though.
I don't always like to say up and coming, but she is 20.
Right, she's young.
And I'm pretty sure, yeah, she's in Euphoria. I was gonna say, I remember her.
She plays Rue's sister.
That's right. And I also feel like she's gonna be in more major projects soon. Just because I know that they'll start to cast more unknown actresses and actors in horror films first, and then we saw this with Scream, Mary, and then they launch into careers. Like for some reason, horror is the entryway.
Yeah, and then she'll kind of transition.
Which I think I would love to be in a horror movie. Like I'll be in horror movies all my life, you know, if the paycheck's there, right? That's important. But what did you think of the mom and daughter in the boarding school? Because this is where Jenine and I had a lot of conversation after an AMC at.
Yes.
We had to shout out the Stony Brook. They just went through a renovation, Mary, and they have a cafe. It's just. We saw The Exorcist in the IMAX, and there were only 6 of us.
It was it was like we had our own theater.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're not going to say to everyone when we go because I don't want everyone to start flocking.
Yes, it was our private show.
And their food is also good too. I had Impossible Nuggets. Sorry, I'm like hungry too. So we'll stop talking about all the food. But what did you think of the mother and the daughter?
I liked that dynamic. I think it brought like a nice relationship. Like I felt like if her role was going to be the daughter, was going to be so significant with her being the first one to kind of notice the possession thing, like supernatural stuff happening, it would make sense to have an adult that she related to, whether like literally related, like in this situation, or you know, if she just happened to be so close with a teacher. But I feel like also tiptoeing on that, they were kind of like, well, let's just make it a mother-daughter situation, and then we can combine this love interest with her and Maurice, and then him being friends with this little girl. Like it kind of like that scenario makes more sense in my eyes than to try and make them all separate individuals, with her with parents, elsewhere.
Yeah, I can see that. Did you ever see the movie Chocolat?
No.
No, I know what you're
Oh my
talking
God,
about,
you
but
have
I
to see
saw
it.
But I
with
do know
So
what you're
good.
talking about, yeah.
Juliette
and
Binoche.
Binoche.
Oh my gosh. But it kind of reminds me of she's a healer, or in the supernatural, talk about apothecary, but she uses her magic. Again, magic in quotes,
Yeah,
but
Juliette
she
Binoche.
uses it for her chocolate store that she creates as an entrepreneur. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because it has that type of mother-daughter bond, but as a supernatural element of her like being connected with nature. And I thought they were going to go into that. And I feel for that. Again, I'm going to disagree a little, Mary. I feel for the actresses because I was like, I knew the mother. She was in the Narnia Chronicles. I thought I recognized her, but she's only 34, just to put that out. Anna Popplewell is the mother, Kate.
Okay.
We get a few Kates in these
Yes,
discussions.
there should be more Kates.
But and her daughter is Sophie. I think that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Um,
Yes.
I think it's telling that we really can't remember the mother and
know.
daughter's names, but they're so good. So it's not the acting. It
No.
was, I kind of wish there was something mystical to the mom, like magical in the chocolate way,
Right.
because it could have strengthened her understanding of possession, or even given us a little more oomph when Maurice is possessed. Like, I would have liked her to be a little more active in helping end the possession.
Right. She
Instead of
didn't
just
really do anything.
well, remember, I kept saying
Yeah.
to you, why is she always running around? And it's as if the school is a whole country, like that no one can find each other.
Right.
And I'm like, how big
Yeah.
is this school? And also, why aren't they leaving the school? Like, they're in a town.
Exactly. It just, everybody stayed
Yeah.
there. Nobody left.
No, it was
There
as if
was an evacuation scene. I will give them that. They did have
Okay.
that.
That's true.
However,
That's
though,
true. But they still kind of
what
didn't
happened
really
with these
care.
kids?
well, and like I kept saying to Janine, it was as if in the script it just said, move from this room to that room and don't explain why you're
Yeah.
moving. Right? They kept running around with their heads cut off. I was like, not literally, because that could have happened. But
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
well, and how about that room, right? What was the room where all the tragedy happened with
The
the
chapel.
headmistress's son? Yes, the chapel.
Chapel.
But what did you think of the chapel being padlocked? Like, what did you think
Oh.
of why people kept entering the chapel, even though they knew what was lurking in there?
Then the goat in the stained glass window.
Oh, yeah, the goat.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I found it interesting more on like philosophical religious levels. Just because I feel like historically the Catholic Church is great at excluding people. So like in some just because it seemed like Sophie was like a child born out of wedlock, because they never really say who Sophie's father is or what the situation is, but I always got the vibe that like it was something on the scandalous side or slightly scandalous. So the idea that it was locked and that she was the one to be able to get in, I found to be interesting. But yeah, that's kind of how I took it. And I was kind of like, yeah, of course they're locking up the chapel. I mean, that's just on par with what they do. But also like the fact that it was such a source of tragedy. I mean, given everything that's happened with the news and the Catholic Church over the past like couple decades, also felt fitting for that as well. Like, yeah, why would you want to go into a place of such tragedy?
Wait, because for everyone out there again, what happened to her son in the chapel?
There was a war. I think it might have been World War One, because I don't think we're at World War II territory yet.
No, we are. We are.
We
This is
are. Okay, so maybe it
1956.
was.
Yeah, so
Okay, so
maybe
maybe it was World War II. Some sort of missile or something. I feel like it was something war related came in through the church, and her son, who was an altar boy at the time, was in the room that the missile like hit. And so he got killed that way. At least that's what I think.
No,
but I
you're
know it was
right.
like he died in that
chapel.
church, in the chapel.
Well, and this is where I will say The Nun too. I thought they did a great job in terms of the the nun's spirit. I'll call it demonic spirit that the nun possesses
Right.
can actually shapeshift and like
Yes.
take forms of the
Mhm.
bodies, almost the way you would think a zombie could.
Mhm.
I guess like it was kind of like a zombie body, like
Mhm.
because the person thought they were actually talking to a full dimensional
Yes.
person, but then almost in Stephen King's It, we see a scene like that where
Mhm.
Beverly like thinks it's her father, but it's not. It's the demon or it's the neighbor, and it just like tries to attack you right away. So I thought when the son appeared to his mother was really frightening. Like I thought that worked well.
Yes.
I thought anytime it shapeshifted, they did a great job. Like I thought
Mhm.
that was the
There were
highlight.
definitely good points of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought the script was I could have used more depth with the
It was
relationships.
lacking a bit.
Like it wasn't
Yes.
the possession. The possession I thought
That was there.
freaked you out.
Yes.
Like that's what would keep
Mhm.
me seeing it
Mhm.
again is the possession. But like we talked about Mary, in horror movies, you can only have people rewatch it so many times without them um being exposed to the fear. Like it's
Mhm.
gonna get old after a while.
Sure.
Like you know it's
Yeah.
coming. So you do need a good script.
Oh, definitely.
Like that's
You
why
need a
we
good
watch
storyline.
Scream.
Mhm.
It's a good script. Um okay. So what didn't work for you, Mary? I want to hear what you want to critique in it.
Well, I mean, like with most Catholics, they cherry picked a lot of things. Saint Lucy's story isn't 100%
Oh yeah.
accurate. No one really knows what happened to Saint Lucy. It seems like the whole notion of her eyes being gouged out came from the art that was depicted after her death. So it's not necessarily confirmed if that happened. The legend, I mean, or at least what has been checked, was that she was betrothed to someone. She didn't want to get married. She wanted to stay a virgin and devote her life to the poor, but she didn't really have that say. So this guy wanted to marry her, and she was just like, yeah, no, not doing it. And he, because of the type of government they were living in, it was a very pagan society. They had a pagan empire. So because she was Catholic, he ratted her out basically. So the part that like she was killed by pagans, that is somewhat accurate. But it's how, and were her eyes actually gouged out? And if so, was it self-inflicted? Because at that point she was kind of going to be like forced into prostitution essentially. So some say that she did that in order to make herself less appealing, which is a very common thread amongst Catholic female saints. A lot of them do disfigure themselves in order to make themselves less attractive for that reason, and say it's for that reason, even though God wants you to respect, like, even though they say respect your temple, but my tattoos are the problem, but yet you're literally disfiguring yourself because whatever. That's my gripe. I'm not gonna go on.
Well, it's an
that
issue about
tangent,
female
but
sexuality. So
yeah, that, or was she tortured and they took them out? However, do I think that that really happened, and that, like in this movie, they found her eyes? No.
oh wait, and isn't the headmistress's eyes gouged out?
Yes.
Mhm.
We get eyes gouged out in both films.
Yes.
So why do
The
you
big
think
stick.
why do you think eyes being gouged out is such a like the devil really wants to take away your sight? Like what's the metaphor behind this?
Because faith is believing without seeing.
Mhm.
And if you take away the sight, like it's almost like, oh well, because most of these instances come in a time of like, and you still believe in God type of, like, some sort of that type of power challenges there usually. So it's more of like, oh well, if you believe, then you don't need to see.
Mhm.
Or at least
That
that's
makes
how I interpret it.
Are you afraid of the dark? Sorry, I had to, everyone. It's Dr. Andrew Rimby. Happy spooky season and gothic and horror. Just all the vibes. I am so excited to talk about Broadview Press, who you might know helps sponsor our podcast. They're an independent publisher in the humanities since 1985. Did you know they have so many horror novels that you need to get your hands on? They have Frankenstein, of course, by Mary Shelley. They have Dracula by Bram Stoker, one of my favorites. They have The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson, Edgar Allan Poe's Poetry and Tales. Oh, they just have so many gothic novels that you all need to soak your teeth into, bob your teeth into. Some kind of Halloween metaphor is appropriate there. They also have academic books like Dr. Jeffrey Andrew Weinstock's The Mad Scientist's Guide to Composition. So if you're a writing professor out there, you need to get your hands on that. And they also have a gift package called Mystery Horror Sensation, which if you don't know what to choose, just choose the Mystery Horror Sensation gift package. Just a reminder, you get 20% off on broadviewpress.com, link in our show notes. Just use the code Ivory Tower, all lowercase. Ivory Tower, 20% off all your books on broadviewpress.com, all of them. I can't wait for you all to hear our next Broadview Press guest. It's coming in November. And definitely when you buy one of their horror or gothic novels or books, just make sure you tag us on Instagram at Ivory Tower Boiler Room and tag them too at Broadview Press. I know they'll love to share it. Okay, everyone. Be careful if you're reading in the dark. I don't want you to get too scared. Turn a light on. Bye, everyone. Hi, did I mention that it's spooky season? This is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and guess what? I have so many Halloween and fall designs and crafts in my apartment. And guess what? There is a person who's made me so many Halloween horror fall themed items, and her name is Mandy Bengal. She owns Mandy Made It, a craft crochet company. So Mandy talked to me and said, Andrew, I want everyone out there to know that if they mention ITBR and that they heard my ad, that I will give them a free ITBR t-shirt. So make sure you mention ITBR and order from Mandy crocheted pumpkins that she actually is using cinnamon sticks as the stem, which is a brilliant idea. How cozy. And also filling the pumpkins with potpourri. I already want to wrap myself in a blanket. She has Halloween keychains, other Halloween crochet designs. So how can you reach out to her? Go to her Facebook or Instagram at Mandy Made It. Reach out to her. She will ship items out to you. If you live in the South New Jersey, Philly area, she'll arrange to have you either pick it up or deliver it to you. So Mandy just makes such beautiful crocheted items. And I'm so happy that she supports the podcast. I've known Mandy since I was a child. We were in theater camp together. That's how I met Mary. So the three of us have known each other a long time. Okay, head over to Mandy Made It for your handmade crocheted items for this Halloween and fall. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, though, the head mistress is killed. Unlike, you know, Chris in The Exorcist, believer. Like, thankfully, she gets to live.
I was about to be really upset if they brought her in and then we're going to take her out that. I was like, then why bring her on?
I know.
Well, okay. So our last, I think we hit everything with the nun. I mean, I don't have anything more to say. Does anyone else have anything more to say? Okay. So,
let me change my background.
Oh, okay.
Another one for The Exorcist.
Ooh,
I'm so excited. I was like going to tell you, Mary, to change it to the films, but you were very intuitive about,
She's ahead of us.
you know the game and you know the task here. You picked up on the theme. So, okay, well, I'm just going to get to the Exorcist questions. So I just wanted to start first. It's not called The Exorcist number whatever. Like, I didn't even know there were so many sequels. Yeah. There's like The Exorcist 2, Heretic. There's like Exorcist 3.
One.
Oh, okay. We have the demonic children.
Let's put both of them.
So why is it called the Exorcist Believer instead of a number, in your opinion? Like, what's to this?
In my opinion, I think it's mainly has to do with the non-believers. Because you can see in this film the non-believer, really non-believer. I would argue there's more than one, but you know, they've then become the believers because of this situation.
Well, and let's start with that. Right away, we have a great, in my opinion, opening scene. We get
Incredible.
Haiti, because I had no idea where it was going. That's what I liked. I
Right.
was like, oh, okay, we're in Haiti. What's happening? He's a photographer. He's with his pregnant wife.
Right.
This is beautiful. They're on vacation. And then, oh, the real life, Haiti earthquake. Like that they actually drew from historical,
Right.
the historical past, which is pretty recent. Like
Yeah.
something that didn't happen too long ago that people remember.
Right.
And that they connected that to like to the possession of sorts. I mean, right, it's not quite clear how the possession is going to happen from the beginning, and I liked that. Like I liked knowing how we didn't know. We knew that the daughters were going to be possessed, but we didn't know how the source of what was going to happen. So I kind of liked that the opening was more about family strife and sadness and tragedy than it was, here's the devil.
Well, didn't you think for a second when the woman was saying the prayer over the pregnant woman's belly, I thought it was going to have something to do with that, with the possession.
Yeah, I thought they
Like,
were
in the back of my
cursing
mind.
her.
Exactly, for a second. But I'm like, no, that would be too easy to do it right in the beginning of the movie.
And I think they knew that we would be thinking that.
Yes.
And they were
So then I
throwing us off the scent all the
voted
time.
against it. But in the beginning, for a split second, I thought that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And can we just say
Very
how
sweet.
amazing Leslie Odom Jr. is in this movie? Like the actor. And this cast. That's my main thing is this cast, unlike the Nun 2, in my opinion, this cast showed up for the assignment. Like
Yeah,
they were
they
ready.
Mhm.
Jennifer Nettles as the mom, amazing.
Yep.
Ann Dowd from The Handmaid's Tale,
Mhm.
like as the neighbor.
Yep.
Everyone. I mean,
She was very good.
Ellen Burstyn coming back. We get a Linda Blair reconciliation at the end, which I thought was wonderful.
So
Yeah,
much.
I was actually, unlike The Nun 2, I cried in this movie, which is a good horror movie in my opinion. Like if you can evoke sadness and optimism, like we get both of these at the same time. But okay, so highlights, Mary. Like what was something in The Exorcist Believer did you come away with that you're still thinking about?
I really liked how instead of, because I feel like in every other Exorcist movie, we just focus on Catholicism and, the rite of, or not the rite of, I should say, but like the ritual of an exorcism. In this one, we got different religions and different type of cultural rituals that are also similar. And I love that because deep down, I truly believe like we all believe or worship the same entity. We just call it different things. So to see that come into what is normally predominantly a Catholic thing, I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Here's if I can put my, education hat on. I think even the title, The Exorcist Believer, you're putting two contrasting ideas together. Like The Exorcist is not an exorcism, right? I know that seems simplistic, but the exorcist is the person who actually exorcises the body.
Right.
It's a profession, right? It's supposed to be a priest. I mean, in the first one, it's the priest, and I rewatched the first one. First, the Georgetown scenery is beautiful. I forgot that like she lives in this amazing house. I was like, wow, amazing, beautiful. And that the priests, both of them die. One like jumps out the window because he's so. Oh, the demon takes over his body. Like that's how it gets out of Linda Blair, Reagan's body. But then like the older man just dies, I guess, from a heart attack. I don't know.
Right.
I have to say, rewatching The Exorcist after seeing this new film, I'm like, Oh wow, the original Exorcist is not frightening at all. It's very cheesy to me, but like
And
that's
at the
my
time, yeah,
2023 eyes.
right,
But
exactly.
at
At
that
the
time, no
time,
one had
Mhm.
ever
it was
seen an
terrifying.
exorcism in a movie.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I get how
Hmm.
groundbreaking it is. All of that's to say is the titles I actually think are two separate movies. Like Believer is our beginning movie with Haiti and everything,
Okay.
and him being agnostic and having lost his faith
Hmm.
with the death of his wife.
Right.
And then once Tubular Bells, the music comes in
Mhm.
and he has to find Chris McNeil and we hear, do 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 do
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, I can't do it justice, but he's on the bridge and
Mhm.
the theme song comes
Starts
back.
playing.
Then we're
Mhm.
in the Exorcist territory with Chris McNeil and him having to seek her out.
Mhm.
That it you know, intersects together. And I thought that was really clever using the
Mhm.
theme song as
Yeah, to
him
slice it. Yeah.
starting to open his
Mhm.
eyes to, you know what, maybe there is evil spirits and I need to do justice for my daughter by actually um not just listening to those around me
Mhm.
thinking that she has psychiatric issues, but
Mhm.
actually like going back to the source of this evil.
Right.
And
Yeah.
'cause
And
I
what
thought that was the best part.
Yeah.
yeah. What I liked about both, like him and the other parents, were that they were definitely both groups, like they were definitely people who would do anything for their children.
Right.
And I think that also is a driving force behind the switch in his beliefs.
Right.
Yeah.
But also with him, like getting back to what we were saying about like believers and non-believers, his belief, just like taking up what you were saying, Andrew. I think too, his belief, like remember when the part when they were all saying prayers and everything over the children and trying to get the spirits out.
Yeah.
The part that stood out to me the most in the movie was when he knelt in front of his daughter in particular, and he was saying, "Come on, Angela, I know you're in there. You could do this." It was him believing in her.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, him believing in the religion again and that the spirits are there and he could do that, but his belief in his daughter in particular, I thought that was another aspect of belief
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and unlike the
in
first
her. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's her individuality and, like, speaking directly to her. You're right,
Mhm.
because everyone else, like,
They were just saying it like in
from their
general,
own
kind of.
religious perspective,
Yeah,
they're giving their own prayers and
right.
thinking that's gonna exorcise this
But
demon.
he wanted to draw her out.
Mm-hmm.
It's about her agency and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that
And
kind of struck me.
yeah, you're right. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
we, um remember, Chris never sees Reagan's exorcism.
Right. He
Unlike
even said that.
this,
Yeah.
where I
Right.
thought it was so important that
They're all
they took it
participating in
upon
it to
themselves
do
to
it.
do the
Yep.
exorcism, like, as a
Yeah.
community. They're
Because
gonna
the priest then even said he wouldn't. And you remember when he said, then we're doing this without you.
Yeah, because I saw critiques of this film that I totally disagree with, that and again, you could, you
Mm-hmm.
know, disagree with me, which is fine, that's your prerogative, but I some people didn't like that the daughters were strapped, like, they thought that they should have been more, um like, causing harm to the people by jumping on them and, um, bloating more, and I thought actually them being strapped, what was so frightening is when that priest
Mm.
is actually
Right.
remember, they, like, use what happens
Yeah.
to Reagan in the first film against the priest,
So I thought
Yeah.
that too.
and his head snaps and turns around, but unlike Reagan, who's possessed in the first
Mhm.
film, can turn her head around in a
Mm-hmm.
360-degree way.
Right.
And
But
she
the
winds up
priest who
turning out
actually
alive.
yeah, the priest can't do that because he actually has, a spine and it snaps.
Right.
Like, I thought that was what was really scary is they
Mm-hmm.
were, like, using their own original film
Exactly.
and
They
turning it on
parodied
its
it.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, pardon the pun.
Yeah, they subverted the original film. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
even with the theme song, they knew what they were doing, and it was just beautifully executed.
Mhm.
Like, again, what did you think, though? Because Janine and I literally gasped when Chris
Oh.
went into Catherine's room where she's been possessed and what happened to Chris in that room.
I had a feeling something like that was going to happen. I mean, I
Mhm.
loved it for the badassery of Chris just being like, I know who the fuck you are.
Mhm.
Like, we've done this before. We've done this dance. Like, let's do this. But at the same time, I feel like in a way the demon was like, no, you fought your fight already. This is someone else's turn. You need to
Mhm.
take a seat. Which also could have been, the demon just being like, well, this bitch knows what is going on, so let's just
Right.
get her out because she doesn't need to be telling secrets of how to get rid of me, kind of a thing.
That's true too.
Even though,
But also, if she never was there for the exorcism, I thought what was interesting is like she actually um is that courageous to fight off the demon
Mhm.
and the devil, and like she's going to um be alone with the devil and face it head on, like you said, Mary. But I agree with you. I think that because she already had been with Reagan and seen the distress that her daughter was in, it's almost like she's been depleted. Or like you can't have one
Mhm.
person exorcise the devil from someone's body.
right.
Like the devil's power is too strong.
And I
Um,
also think it plays to like the fact that the devil plays games. Like I feel like he was just like, I'm just not here for you this time. So like you're not playing this game this time.
you're not
Like
part of
it's
this movie.
exactly. yeah.
Like in a way, I thought,
Yeah.
you're not in our storyline right now. And I mean, thank God though that Chris, like we said, survived.
Well,
Yeah, thank
Um,
God.
and I felt like her being in the hospital, like she could still feel the power, right? The
yes,
lights
yes,
are
that scene,
flicking.
everything, right? I mean, she's in
And
bed, definitely.
like
It was powerful.
I thought that that's where the scenery in my mind worked, is we didn't really need to know. Unlike the Nun, where they're trying to always tell us where they are,
Mhm.
which actually I felt more confused when they're telling us where they are. We didn't have to tell us that she was in Georgetown or at the beach or wherever
Mhm.
she was. I don't even think she was in Georgetown. I don't know where Chris's house was. It was
Right,
beautiful.
right.
But could have been Myrtle Beach. I don't know. Um, but it worked that I thought they were in Georgia somewhere in a rural kind of small town industrial area. We don't need the specifics all the time
Right.
Mhm.
in the horror genre.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to feel uncomfortable like with where they are. Like because I felt that in The Exorcism, in The Exorcist Believer,
Right.
it was more about the people, not the scenery. It was about the heart of everyone.
I was
And
just gonna say, I think that's why, even though Chris is in the hospital, I think that was also part of the point of this film. One of the reasons I think they killed the priest off was because I feel like, again, in the Catholic and Christian community, the priests, the pastors, the leaders of the church, they're seen as the ones who are supposed to lead you through these difficult times. But no one ever focuses on the community
yep.
aspect. And it's really the community of people that really are what drive, everything that the church is. And that's really what is a healing source for a lot of people, is knowing that they have community. So I think the fact of Chris coming in, even though she couldn't be a part of the actual physical exorcist, the fact that there were things happening around her just said that she was there it sounds cheesy, but like she was there in spirit, even though she wasn't physically there to fight, her thoughts and everything were there
Well,
with
her
them
eyes are still
fighting.
with the devil, technically.
Mhm.
Like that's where she lost her vision. So now she
Yeah.
has to rely on the sounds of the power of the supernatural. Like, right, the intensity is now in the auditory realm. And like
Mm.
we get that when she's observing what's happening in the hospital around her.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but you like really helped me figure out why I am more annoyed with the Nun too, is because it's operating in a system of religiosity that I just don't
Mhm.
agree with anymore in our current moment. Like I thought that the Exorcist Believer
Mhm.
is saying one religion is not going to get us out of our current cultural strife
Mm.
and our division in our societies and in our country, and the world, right? I mean, what's happening in the global politics? People
Mhm.
are really distressed, and it is dehumanizing. It's frightening. It's upsetting. but what is going to bring us together? I said this to Janine literally after we saw the movie.
Yeah, we were just having this discussion.
I said, we need our community to come together. Like, we need peace and love has to happen from ourselves, not from the church. Like, you thinking the church is going to solve, the church politicians are going to solve your everyday issues. Better think again, because you're going to be waiting forever. No one solves your own dilemmas except coming together as people that you see every day. Like me being in a small business right now, I'm a small business owner. We need to help each other. That's what I thought the Exorcist believer, they got it. It's bringing people together. And he actually is the one, like you said, Janine, he's talking to his daughter, Angela. He's going to find the humanity. He's going to find humanity within a body that has been so disfigured by the devil or a demon. He still sees her humanity, though. I don't think Catherine's parents see Catherine.
No.
They see what Reagan looks like. They see the devil taking over her body.
Yeah, they don't see the her.
Yeah, I think they see the version of their daughter that they know her to be and not who she is.
Well, how about when the father screams out, "I save you, Catherine"?
I mean,
What's happening?
to ever kill someone in a movie fast. First of all, I called it from the beginning because if you know anything about Exorcist movies and just, again, my upbringing, devil plays tricks and you don't fight fair. Usually, like it's never a fair fight. It's always, do you give in to the temptation or do you stay away? And this was one of those things. He said, I'm gonna present you with the choice. I just want, for me, I don't think again, if this was a true, real thing, I think that had that not happened, they both would have survived. Because if you're not going to choose and you're not going to play his game, then what fun is it? That or he was going to kill them both. I was like, they're either both could be alive or they're both could be dead if no one says anything. Right. But the fact that he said something, it was just like, you just made the devil's day. Now he's like, oh, I get to take someone, which I don't believe, but like that was his thing.
Well, it's awful.
Do you think
no?
In a way, though, the father is totally betraying Angela and not viewing Angela as a human being.
Absolutely.
So in a way, the devil is actually calling out the father and saying, you're an asshole, and you're now going to get punished. I'm punishing you by taking your daughter into hell.
Yeah, but then poor Catherine, she didn't do anything.
I know. And the scene where she's taken under, like thinking that she's
for her mother,
and she thinks she's back.
I know,
like in that underground tunnel. I mean, that was such good visual.
Yeah,
the cinematography.
It's terrifying.
It was the scariest part of the movie. Fuming. It was scary, but it was. As soon as I saw and realized what was happening, I literally got so angry because it's one of those. Because you can tell that this was kind of the parallel that they were putting. Angela was given the protection, spell or whatever in Haiti. Right. So in some way, that's kind of like a baptism. Whereas Catherine, who was supposed to be getting baptized, is never baptized, and now her soul's dragged to hell. I personally do not, I was taught that God loves everybody. He wants to say, he loves all of us equally. We are his children, blah, 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 blah. So you're really trying to tell me that because some dude that decided he wanted to be a priest rubs some holy water and then some holy oil and says a few words, that's going to save you from eternal damnation? So you really expect me to believe that an innocent creature, an innocent baby, an innocent child is going to go to hell just because that didn't happen? Like, get the hell out of here. I can't even with that. Yeah. Like, that irks me so much.
LGBT stories are universal, but each one speaks to the individual heart and soul of the writer telling it. Do you have a story to tell? Or have you been moved by an LGBT book, film, painting, television show, or other form of media? Then the Gay and Lesbian Review wants to hear from you. The GNLR believes in bringing awareness to queer art and artists through reviews, commentary, and thought pieces in which the author relates their personal lives to a particular piece of art, a novel, a movie. In addition to the print magazine, the GNLR also publishes articles on its blog. So you can see all of this on glreview.org. That's glreview.org. Remember, you get 50% off your subscription of the GL Review magazine when you use the promo code ITBR50. That's 50% off your print or digital subscription when you use promo code ITBR50. To learn more about submitting an article for the GNLR, visit their writer's guidelines. The link is located at the bottom of their homepage. And if you have any questions, email Stephen Hemrick. That's STEPHENHEMRICK@glreview.org. The GNLR and its readers can't wait to see what you have to say. Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I'm so excited to shout out the Gay and Lesbian Review, who is helping to sponsor the ITBR podcast. For all of you out there, the Gay and Lesbian Review is a bi-monthly magazine where you can discover new things about gay and lesbian literature, history, and culture. And the GL Review publishes essays in a wide range of disciplines, as well as a slew of reviews of books, plays, and movies, and a number of special features, such as artist profiles and their popular art memo column. Each issue of the magazine brings you consistently intelligent, lively, thought-provoking articles focused on a unifying theme. For example, their September-October issue centers on the theme Cracking the Closet. So, starting in the 19th century, a number of artists and writers found ways to crack the closet by expressing their sexuality between the lines or in the interstices of their work. For example, Ignacio Darnad, who is a friend of the ITBR podcast, he's been on our show, writes all about illustrator J.C. Leyendecker, whose work for Ivory Soap and Arrow Collars gave him plenty of opportunities to draw pictures of well-dressed and at times scantily dressed American men. And you also can find an article by Vernon Rosario, who has been on the podcast, and he talks about the quest for sex in the Middle Ages. So, to subscribe, visit glreview.org. That's glreview.org. Click subscribe. So on their website, go all the way over to the right-hand side and you'll see the button subscribe. Click subscribe and enter the promo code ITBR50 because you're getting 50% off your subscription to the print or digital edition of the Gay and Lesbian Review magazine. I can't wait for you all to have your copy of the Gay and Lesbian Review magazine, and make sure that you take a picture when your magazine arrives or when you're reading it online and tag the GL Review on Instagram and ITBR, and we'll share it out in our stories. Enjoy your reading, everyone.
My core.
But I don't think that's why she's dragged to hell, though, is because she wasn't baptized. I think that's why they think she's dragged to hell. Or even why she was possessed in the first place, right? Because Jennifer Nettles' character says it's because she wasn't baptized. Right, but no, I think it's because, whatever source they encountered. This is where it really reminds me of what happens in Talk to Me, which again I think has been such a good movie. I can't wait until you both say it. You have to let me know. It's very, very freaky. It plays around with your head a lot, which is what I like in horror. I thought it's because these two girls, they have a friendship that Catherine's parents don't even understand. Right. I thought there was something happening with race relations here that was never spelled out, but it's definitely there.
Like an underlying.
Catherine's parents are not accepting.
Yes.
They judge the father.
At the hospital.
They judge Angela, our daughter was friends with your daughter. There's something happening here that the devil, to me, the devil is a commentary on our politics and our culture. You're not accepting or understanding, I'm taking you to hell.
Right.
not the daughter, but the daughter is a proxy for the parents and the
Mhm.
community of hatred and volatile behavior. Like, she's a pawn. I mean, if anything, Catherine's now partying up in like the disco inferno. Which, I mean, hopefully Catherine has fun. That's all I can hope for. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think of the parents' aftermath when they're meeting up at the
Oh my God,
cafe?
how's the father ever gonna live with himself?
So do you think the father now blames himself?
Oh, I do.
Even if he
I-
doesn't show it, like he kind like feeling you kind of see glimpses of it, but it's not like overt like you would think it would be. But yeah, no, I think he feels guilty because I think he knows at this moment, like he knows by him saying that he essentially damned his daughter to hell, and he knows that he should have followed the agreement from beforehand, which was to keep the damn mouth shut and not
And
say
the
a
wife is gonna
thing.
blame him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the wife though coming to him at the restaurant just
She
show
forgives him.
reconciliation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, um, well, the father's played by Norbert Leo Butz, who's an actor from Broadway who was actually Fiyero in the original Wicked. So there's another witch theme there.
Oh, okay.
But I did love when Anne Dowd took it upon herself and she's like, well, I don't need the priest. I'm gonna,
Yes.
this is my calling now. This is why I'm here.
She
Like,
was so strong.
I do think it was, like you said, Jenine, it's about people finding their power.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where, like, I didn't even think this was Christian. Like, I don't know. I didn't see this movie, even though it's supposed to be religious. It, to me, it did not, it was always like having us question religious doctrine.
Mhm.
Like, maybe we don't need one God, or like maybe we don't need to be in one religion because then it starts to separate us as people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I thought the father was coming in to, like, when all the religions came together, even what would you call her? A spiritual healer? I don't, she was kind of
Yeah,
like
I mean, I'm not sure if there's like a particular name for it, or if there's certain types of rituals or what have you, like in Haiti about that specifically. Um, but yeah, like she definitely seemed to be some sort of spiritual healer
Mhm.
type of woman. And they're brought in for a second time, or she's brought in a second time, because the first time she comes in, it's the neighbor that elicits her to come when the daughter's missing, or her and somewhat a colleague, I guess. And then when the dad comes home, he's like, what is going on? Because at first, you see him and you think that it's her.
Right. And that was what
And then of course, that was a lot. And he has them leave, but then I find it interesting that he does call her back, because I feel like he understands that she is good intentioned, and that she is someone who does want to help, who does want to heal. Whereas you have the priest who shows up to say he can't do it, but then sits in his car and is praying hysterically, and then eventually decides he needs to go in.
And maybe is killed because he's not strong enough to face this demon. Unlike the spiritual female healer, she's not scared at all. I mean, like, and also I do want to say, I feel like they're playing with the phrase black magic in terms of like Creole magic, or I'm not sure how much you know about New Orleans history with voodoo. And you get that in American Horror Story Coven with the amazing Angela Bassett, who makes that season incredible, in my opinion. But Hitchaba from Salem was a woman of color who, like, they say kind of was used by the community as like her immigrant magic. They like thought that she was possessing the girls. Like, that's the whole plot in The Crucible. Really comes from Tituba.
Which,
and I
when
thought that yeah, no, go, Mary. Yeah,
no, I was gonna say, which, when you think about it, like, of course these people, like, they're slaves at this time in history, or at least being treated still as such, regardless of everything. But I think that, like, with her specifically, I feel like, and with the healing, or with women in general, with the Salem witch trials, a lot of it was, I feel like these women, these slave women, had their traditions and homeopathic remedies that they had already had, and now they're bringing, they're practicing it and using it, and people are like, oh my god, this works, and they're like, oh my god, it's witchcraft.
Yeah. Well, it's
Because
like Native
basically
American
a slave
medicine.
woman made it. Mhm.
Yeah, because it's not the Western culture, right? And like that's what I thought they did really well in this movie is that Western culture doesn't always have the answers,
Mhm.
and we should be
Open-minded.
combining.
Yeah.
We should be
Mhm.
combining whatever is good for the community.
Mhm.
Again, I feel like if anything out of that movie, I learned about the power of community.
Mhm.
And well, wait, can we talk about when Reagan appears?
Oh,
Because that's when I cried. I thought it was
I just brought everything together.
so
Mhm.
beautiful when like Chris says, "Oh, Victor, is that you?" And then I mean, I knew it
Oh,
wasn't
sweet.
Victor. I
I
was like, "No,
know.
I think that's Reagan."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's beautiful.
again, but like there was such a heart at the end of this movie.
Mhm.
Like even though yes, Catherine's brought to hell, there's still like this and Angela is going through her own tragedy of like her friend not being there. I mean, she's not okay. They all have to literally like the Haiti earthquake. They have to come up from the rubble.
Mhm.
Like we're back again from the beginning of the
Mhm.
movie, but it's a different earthquake that's happened. But like what did you think when Reagan and Chris reunite?
It was perfect. It was needed. It was a nice little, like cherry on top of the sundae.
Mhm.
Even though I would prefer to have Catherine alive in my sundae, but that's
I know, me too.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really bothered me. That stayed with
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
stay with me.
Yeah. But I did think like for them to kill off one of the girls was actually pretty smart
Mhm.
in the sense that the audience can't believe it happened.
Right, exactly.
Because everyone's like, no
Mhm.
one's gonna, they're not gonna die.
Yeah, of course not. I didn't see that.
Mhm.
And yeah. Okay. So our final thoughts on a scale of 1 to 10, each of you.
Okay.
1 being hell. No. 1 being the lowest of low of movies in your list. 10 being I will return to this probably in 30 years. Like a Halloween, for example. Like in that caliber of horror. Where do you put The Nun 2 and where do you put The Exorcist Believer? Jenine.
Okay. Nun 2, I would put I liked it a little bit, but then after we saw The Exorcist, it kind of went down. So Nun 2, I'd probably put at about a 4. And Exorcist Believer, maybe about an 8. I really enjoyed it. How about you, Mary?
I don't know. I kind of feel I don't know. See, between the two demons, I prefer Valak. Because
Okay.
Valak's more in your face. You know who he is. Kind of no bullshit. Whereas this demon doesn't want to tell you who he is. He's kind of keeping himself secret. I liked both. I loved them both. I don't know, but I think with a lot of the religious connections and like that fascination for me, which is why I probably like the Nun 2 a little bit more. I also like the female heroine, so I mean, like that was also more nudging me that way. And like I said with the Exorcist, the whole like it seemed like the baptism thing was like what decided, and just dragging a child to hell again for me will never sit right with me. And I'm just like the fact that there are Catholics out there who do believe that irks my soul because I'm like, then have you been paying attention in religion class?
I see.
I gotcha.
Okay, wait. So what are the scores?
So
All right.
my scores
Don't bury
would
the
be
lead
I
here.
would put The Exorcist Believer at 7.
Okay.
And I would put the Nun at 7.5. Like they're they are close.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Mister.
Oh, okay.
You're up.
The Nun 2, I'm gonna put at a 3.
Okay.
But it's not as yeah, I'll put it at a 3. And then I would say The Exorcist Believer, I'm gonna put at a 9.
Nice.
I'm putting it
Real
up
close.
there with The Sixth Sense.
Wow.
That's one of my top.
That's one of my
Wow.
top
The
ones.
Sixth Sense is like my 10.
Yeah, that's
And then I would
high
say like
then.
the lowest of low for me would be a like The Gremlins. Like, or
I hate
even
that
like
movie so much.
yeah. Like where I
What
just
did it
don't
do
even
to you as a
understand
child?
why I needed to watch this.
The other night we went to the movies.
It's okay. You can call me.
Sorry.
But yeah. So I will say, Mary, as we end, I need to know, like, is there anything from True Crime and Academia on your show, like where you've covered an exorcism case, or like, are people still practicing, like doing exorcisms?
Yeah, actually around like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there seemed to be a couple of different cases that occurred. Many in which, because, as most people know, exorcisms are deadly. Most of those people did die. However, the majority of them, it did turn out that there was some sort of mental illness that wasn't being dealt with, that got more and more severe as time went on. Plus, in a lot of these cases, people were not being fed properly or given, whether it was because the person themselves were refusing it or they were being told not to give it to them, as a means of driving out the demon. So, for that reason, like, obviously they're deadly and that's not okay. But yeah, nothing like this. Like, there's never been in the true crime world a case of an exorcism where it's like, oh my God, they magically came out of it and everything was fine. Usually there is some sort of mental illness attached. However, there is a new show on Netflix, I think, that just came out that is about, or maybe it's Hulu. It's called like The Devil Inside Me or something like that. And it's about different individuals who've committed murder and said that they were possessed by the devil when they did that. A lot of people are really freaked out by it. I'm a little skeptical. Just
It sounds like a convenient alibi.
because,
Right?
yeah.
Say it.
And then
There's
tonight
a
I get
lot of
possessed by the
factors.
devil.
Yeah.
You're like, what happened, Andrew? You're
Yeah.
possessed.
Yeah. There was one famous case. I'm not sure if it was Amityville. There might have been a case even before that, actually, where that defense of I was possessed by a demon was actually used in trial. I don't think it went anywhere, but the fact that it was used made it, like, gave an opening then for people to use that as an alibi and as a credible alibi for that matter.
And just to let you know, that was Lawrence's question. So
Right,
Lawrence from our Scream discussion, everyone.
Hey, Lawrence.
And is there any True Crime in Academia? I know you have an Urban Legends episode that everyone should listen to, right, Mary?
Mm-hmm. It's on
Okay.
Patreon.
On our Patreon,
Buy me
only
coffee,
$5
please.
a month. Yes, give Mary a cup of
I'm up to like
coffee.
2 to 3 cups a day now, people. Can't afford it on my own.
Yeah, you need money for like your ground coffee so you can make a whole pot because we need a lot of caffeine. So yeah, you can find that on Patreon. Your book club choice too, because the first week in November we're gonna have our book club and it's only $4 to join each one, or you can join both for $10 and get access to all our videos on Patreon and audio episodes. So what is your book? Because that kind of ties into this theme.
So we are reading Haunted Asylums, Sanatoriums, and Prisons by Jamie Davis.
Yeah. My copy has almost come in, so don't worry. I'll pose with it by the time this has come out. As everyone knows, I like to pose on Instagram. So I will say, like, if you ever do any exorcism episode, let us know.
Of course.
And I am curious, have you ever seen Poltergeist?
Mary? I have not. I've seen bits and pieces here and there, but I have not actually sat and watched the whole thing from beginning to end.
Because it's not at all the Valak demon and devil. It's more in line of like what I would say the Exorcist believer. Like I would say the Exorcist is not at all like this new Exorcist.
Mhm.
Like they don't fit in
Right.
the same religious
No.
vein.
No.
And I would say the
Entity.
Poltergeist is more like what you've been critiquing about the Exorcist believer is more why I like Poltergeist and why I like this movie is because I don't want to know the source of the demon. Like I don't want to know who the devil is.
Yeah,
I want
I'm
it
too
to
nosy.
be an unknown source.
I'm too nosy.
So we might have to like all come back and discuss Poltergeist
That'd
in
be
the
Mhm.
great.
winter
Definitely.
because I want an excuse to watch it. I haven't seen
let's
it
see it again.
in a long time.
Yeah,
And I
it was
remember
great.
it being really good.
Oh, it's scary.
And like the woman who comes in with her voice, she's like, she's an, yeah,
They're
she's an amazing.
here.
Yeah,
Love
she's
it.
just such a good presence in
Yeah.
the film.
That was a great movie.
So yeah, well, you know what? We'll all come back and talk about Poltergeist.
Sounds like a date.
And yeah, I love everything that, Janine, you said, Mary,
too.
this has been great.
You too.
And everyone out there, like, give us your thoughts, DM us on Ivory Tower Boiler Room or True Crime and Academia. Come to the soapbox. If you're in the New York City metro area, it's a nice visit. And also they have a website online and you ship, right?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
www.soapboxny.com
Yep. And you're on Instagram.
on
Um,
Instagram.
and Mary, make sure everyone, follows True Crime and Academia and follow Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And we have a few more Gothic episodes coming in November, so I'm not done. Like I said, we'll probably do Poltergeist in the winter.
That'd be fun.
Oh, and let us know if you want us to watch Poltergeist like we did with Scream, where we actually watch it with you minute by minute and discuss it in real time, which is, I thought that was fun, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It
it's a
was.
different experience.
For sure.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Happy demonic possessions. Stay away from TVs.
Yeah, some nightmares tonight.
Yeah, stay away from dark tunnels in the woods. I don't recommend it.
Sure.
Okay. Bye,
I mean,
everyone.
I never recommend
Happy...
going anywhere in the woods.
Yeah. Don't go in the woods by yourself or
True crime
even with
friends know
someone.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't do that. Okay.
Okay.
Happy hauntings. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby. I want to thank you so much for listening to the ITBR and TCIA episodes. Make sure, if you don't, follow, rate, and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, make sure you follow ITBR on TikTok and Instagram at Ivory Tower Boiler Room and TCIA on TikTok and Instagram at True Crime and Academia. Also, we have a brand new Patreon membership system. So I just want to explain it to you all quickly. So if you want to become an ITBR student, it is $5 a month. You get ad-free ITBR and TCIA episodes and video interviews. If you want to become an ITBR professor for $10 a month, you get all of those ad-free benefits, but you also get access to both the ITBR and TCIA book clubs. You can join both book clubs, get ad-free episodes, plus you're going to get all of our extra video episodes. So I am rewatching Queer as Folk. Christian Garcia from That Old Gay Classic Cinema is joining us, and he's rewatching Smash. Mary is going to start to rewatch shows as well. You even get access to what I'm calling the ITBR Teaches. So if I'm recapping a movie or a TV show, including Barbie, Halloween movies and horror films, you get access to that as well. And then I also am offering consultation services. So for $30, you get your first initial consultation with me. It's a 1-hour private Zoom. I will help create your podcast, your media brand. How do you navigate academia as an undergrad or a grad student? Do you need help with technology? It could be teaching tools, Spotify for podcasters, video editor software. Do you want to expand your social media presence as an artist, writer, podcaster, or academic? Do you want help on how to create a public humanities identity like I've created for myself? So I'm offering that consultation service. You can find more info about it on Patreon. And you also can join our book clubs. If you want to just join the ITBR book club or the TCIA book club, you can do that for $4 a month. Patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. That is patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Thanks to the team, Mary DePippi, our chief contributor. And thank you to our 2 new interns from Stony Brook University, Jonathan and Sarah. Bye, everyone. Until next time.